Well, hi everyone. Welcome to A Chat with Daddy. At least that's what the series is called for now. In this series, we'll be diving into the incredible world of littles, middles, and pets. In this series, I'll be chatting with littles, middles, and pets to share their unique experiences and create a community where everyone feels understood. If you're interested in participating in this series, please stay tuned to the end for more information. And without further ado, here's the first installment. I just want to first thank you for joining me today, and it's a real pleasure to be able to talk to you. Could you introduce yourself with your middle name, age, and pet name and age if you have one?
Yes, for sure. So my name is Catherine. I'm 28, and I consider myself a kitten and a middle. And for the middle, I consider myself around the age of 13 years old.
Nice. So, what does being a middle and being a pet mean to you?
Yes, a lot of things. Um, Being a pet or a kitten to me allows me to go in a different frame of mind. I'm able to kind of escape reality and forget about all my adult chores. um, and kind of just be really mindful and being in the present. Um, the part of me that is more around the 13-year-old is because a part of my personality is being a brat, and people around that age are usually brats. So that's why I consider myself around 13-year-old.
That is definitely true and accurate when it comes to people that age. Very bratty sometimes. So, how long have you been engaging into kitten play and middle play?
I would say that for kitten play, it's actually only been 6 months. Um, Middle, I didn't really have a term for it before, but since I started looking into um, the kink world, that's when I realized it. And I don't have a set amount of time that I've been practicing it. I just feel like it's been part of me for a while. That makes sense?
It does make sense. You mentioned in the kink world, so is there something specific that triggered your kitten play interest?
Yes, actually, one of my partner in the past called me Kitty, and it had like a really nice effect on me. It made me feel really good. And for Halloween, I usually always like wear cat attire, and I really enjoy that. And I also like being on the floor. I love people watching, a lot of cat-like behavior. Um, so yeah,
Nice. Do you have any favorite things you like to do when you're in cat mode or cat attire?
yes, I love to be on the ground in general, just crawling to my owner's feet. I also just enjoy, going to the park and people watching without saying anything and just really observing people and feeling the vibe. And I
Oh,
also like, yeah, I also like to play with balls on the ground and just, go crazy and just being funny, just trying to catch the ball.
cute. You mentioned your previous partner calling you Kitty, and your current owner, putting in brackets because that's what you called them. So I'm assuming they were okay with your little pet self.
Yes, so my current owner encourages it. He really likes it too, I think. And it's a nice dynamic to have in between us. I really enjoy it. And I think it brings us closer together.
Nice. That's a really nice story to have and to share something like that with somebody else.
Hmm.
Um, so when you get into, so just so our viewers know, I can actually see you right now, and you're wearing your kitten ears, which is pretty
Yeah.
adorable. Do you have? So I'm assuming when you put your kitten ears, you feel more kitten-like. But do you have any other things that you like to wear to get into that headspace?
Yes. So the kitten ears, I also have a collar, which reminds me that I'm owned, and also is like a very slight or very I don't know what's the right word. Subtle way of saying to other people that I'm owned if I'm in public without being too obvious about it. So I really enjoy wearing a collar. I have different types of collars. I have some that is in leather. I have some that is just lace. I have some that's more delicate, and I use them in different situations. Other than that, I have knee pads. I'm also a dancer, so I already had knee pads before. Um, Obviously, it's much better to crawl on knee pads than just on bare knee. I also like to wear a black outfit, whether that's just like a leotard or some tights, everything in black. And what else? Sometimes I like to do like a little nose and some whiskers
Oh,
on my
cute.
face or not. Or sometimes like I'll bring my crayon to my owner and he'll know like to do the little whiskers on my face or help me
Oh,
with my nose.
that's super cute.
I think that's it.
So right now, I notice that you're not wearing a collar. Can you describe? Can you describe what your collar looks like when you go out in public?
Yeah, I would say when I'm going in public, it's mostly just very subtle, something lacy. Um, Usually some teenagers will wear that, so I guess that's where like the middle comes out as well. Just something very delicate that you wouldn't be able to know that it's because I'm a kitten or it's one of my kinks. Unless you are in the lifestyle, you might notice it.
Okay, so you don't go out in public with a leash and your ears and all that kind of stuff. Then it's just more subtle
No,
thing.
unfortunately not yet. I don't know if that will ever
Unfortunately.
happen. I'm
Okay.
just kidding. Um, yeah,
So since you're pretty much on incognito when you go out in public, I'm
yeah.
assuming you've never encountered any misconceptions or stigma when you're out in public. No one's really known that, as of what you're, from what I gather, what you're saying.
Well, I do go out in like public slash private settings, in play parties. And basically, a play party is a place where everybody is kink positive, it's a sex positive environment, and everybody is very accepting and transparent about what they like, and they just want to share that with other people. So I've been to a few parties where I felt very, very comfortable with the people. I've told them about my kinks. I was wearing my cat ears and the collar, but I was not necessarily wearing like my knee pads and, other stuff. And after a couple of times, I felt comfortable enough to go on my knees and then crawl. And at the end of the night, people were coming to see me and saying, like, you're so brave, like, good for you for doing that, and you're really inspiring. So I've only had positive comments about it.
Well, that must feel really good then.
Yeah, it felt really, really good.
Nice. And at these play events that you're describing, are you usually the only kitten or pet there?
Yes, it never happened that there was other kitten yet. I have a kitten friend that I've made in the real world, but we've never been to a play party together. Um, there was a time where one girl kind of like got on her knees too and started acting like a cat without the attire. And we were just basically rubbing each other's face on like the other face, like when a cat goes to your legs and they rub their face on the your lower legs.
Well, that sounds pretty cute and adorable.
It was fun.
Nice. How do you feel pet play or kitten play has impacted you emotionally, your well being? Do you find it like a therapeutic situation for you?
Yes, with my partner, it's definitely therapeutic. It's not something that I really do on my own. But it's for me, it's a space where also there's no screen. Well, most of the time, at least for me. Uh, for my owner, sometimes he likes to watch TV, and I like to be just on the floor at his feet, and sometimes being pets on the head. But it really helps me to relax and really disconnect from whatever is happening in my life. So yeah, it is therapeutic for me.
Well, that sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Have you ever experienced any like do you experience feelings of shame when you are in that headspace? Like you're doing something wrong, or is it all good for you?
No, there's nothing wrong. There's definitely some shyness and sometimes I'm being self-conscious. But the more I do it, the more comfortable I get, and I just try to embrace it as much as I can. And I just love cat in general. I think they're super cute and fun, and I enjoy being one of them. When I was a kid, actually, I really wanted to be a cat. I remember a time where I asked my mom if I could drink from a bowl of milk with some Nesquik in
Yeah.
it. And I don't remember what her answer was. I was really young, but I think it was a no. But I remember that is like a type of play that I wanted to do since I was, I don't know, maybe like 6 years old.
Well, it's pretty great that you're able to do it now in your grown-up self, and sounds
Yeah.
like you have a yeah, it sounds like you have an encouraging partner as well, so which is really good.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If someone came to you and said they wanted to be a kitten or a cat or a puppy or anything pet related, or even metal related, how would you go about suggesting them how to get into it and how to get that headspace, like diving into it? How would you? What would you? Where would you send them?
Um, that's a good question because my first thought about research online is to go on YouTube. But I doubt that there's any videos about that. Um, there is FetLife, which is a kink positive website. It doesn't talk about only like pets and middle. It talks about a lot of different kinks, but you can find a lot of information there. Another thing that people can do is to go to munches, which is like people meeting in a park, and just sharing similar interests in the kink world. And you can just be curious and ask other people, like, so how do you incorporate that play in your relationship? Or is that something that you do by yourself? Just being very curious about people that are wanting to open up um because there shouldn't be any shame in doing that type of play. And people that are in that world are usually very transparent, non-judgmental. So if there's somebody that you can open up to, I think it's definitely that kind of people that are in the kink world. Just be mindful about the people that you're surrounding yourself with. And if you're a cat like me, you can feel the vibe of other people and you can people watch. So would really suggest just follow your instinct and your intuition. And if you have an owner, great. Stay at his feet and just listen to the rules if you can. And that way you won't be alone. Maybe not doing it by yourself first, doing it with somebody else if you're going to a private event.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Mhm.
So with all this pet play and middle play that you do, how does that fit in your overall lifestyle? Do you work? Do you just do this? Like, do you go to school? Like, what's your situation like?
No, I just do this all day, 24/7.
Lucky you.
No, that's not true. No, I work remotely for myself. And uh, I'm a coach and a therapist, and I do that mostly in the evenings where me and my daddy or my owner don't have anything planned. So sometimes he'll just ask me like, "Do you want to be a kitchen tonight?" And I'll be like, "Yes." And then I start going nonverbal.
That's pretty awesome. You saying that you're a therapist, that's pretty interesting. Do you feel that pet play is a good form of self healing or a good way of soothing? Or, like, as a therapist, what do you think of pet play in general?
I think not necessarily in only pet play, but anything, any activity that brings you pleasure and that makes you feel good inside, why not practice it? And if for you that's being a cat and acting like a cat, or and it doesn't have any negative impact on the people around you or yourself, then I highly, highly encourage it.
That's really interesting. And I know you're probably not allowed to talk about any of your clients, but
Mhm.
if you did have someone approach to you about pet play and they wanted to do that, is that something you'd be able to recommend as a therapist, or is that something you kind of stay away from?
Never happened yet. I'm actually not sure how I would go about it. I wonder what type of question they would ask me. What are you talking about? Like if I was to suggest it, or if they were coming to me with a question?
Well, that's a good question because I actually did a few other interviews
Hmm.
and with littles and pets, but there was one specific little that mentioned that she was recommended to get into little space by her therapist, and I was
Oh
very
wow.
surprised. I thought that was
Mhm.
very what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word.
Special,
Yeah, special, but more like
interesting.
anyways, I can't think of the word right now, but. Um, I found it very interesting for sure. And I'm just wondering, like, if someone did talk to you about that, would you be, because I know you do it yourself, so I'm sure you think it's a
Hmm.
positive thing, but do you think it's good for most people or only certain people? Or how do you think that works with the general population?
Not sure you're gonna like my answer.
That's okay.
Uh, but basically the same thing as I said earlier. Like if that brings you pleasure and it's comforting to you, then yes, why not? It's good for anybody that it brings pleasure to. Now, when it comes to talking about that type of play with my clients, I would never tell them that I participate in that kind of play
Of
because I
course.
need to keep the barrier between them and me. But I would encourage them to do some research on their own. And then if they start to feel some shame, or some guilt about practicing it, then we can start to talk about like where's that guilt coming from and how can we be okay with that guilt, um, and dive a little deeper in the topic of guilt and shyness instead of focusing only on the pet play or being a little or middle.
Yeah, that I don't hate that answer at all. I thought it was really well done,
Okay,
well answered.
good.
'Cause I think it's definitely a safe place as well. A safe way to go about it without telling your client
Mhm.
about your lifestyle. 'Cause I can see that being a bit on the dangerous side slash shady side. So yeah, it's a very professional
Boundary
view, which is great.
crossing. Yeah, thank
Exactly.
you.
Yeah, you just don't want to do that.
You don't want to
Um,
cross any boundaries.
exactly. Um, how about yourself when it comes to this lifestyle? Have you shared this with any friends or family?
I will share that I participate in this lifestyle with anybody that is kink positive. With my family, we just don't talk about anything sex related or sensuality or, sorry, I said sex, but it's not what I meant. I meant more like intimacy.
Okay.
Um, because that's what it is for me. It's intimacy. Um, so we don't really talk about that. So I will not tell them. And I have some friends that are, my best friend knows about it. I tell her everything. And for some other people, I like to sometimes ask them questions like, what do they know about the kink world? Have they heard about something like this? And if I see that they're open to it, then I might educate them a little bit, give them some information because there's a lot of misconception. And I think if I can demystify a little bit what they're thinking about, either being a little pet DDLG or the dumb sub dynamic, I think it can only like enrich their life and potentially um, others around them if they're aware of that.
Well, that makes sense. Going back to your friend, you mentioning it to your friend. How was your friend's reaction when you first told him or her?
My best friend,
Yeah.
I think she knew from the beginning uh, since we started hanging out together. One of the first time we went to an event and I was dressed in black and I already had cat ears. So I put them on and she was just like, "Oh, you look really cute." And I was like, "Thank you." And after that, she knows a lot about my life. So I'm just being very transparent with her, and she highly encourages it too.
Well, I'm really happy it was well received because there's nothing worse
Mhm.
than sharing something that's really near and dear to you and it not being well received by friends and family that you really care about. So I'm really happy that it was a good experience sharing that with your friend.
Yeah. Well, if they give you, if they're not positively responsive to what you're saying, then probably just change the subject of conversation. It's not for them. Maybe just ask a few questions first to kind of like gauge what their knowledge is and what their perspective is about this. And then if you feel like there is an opening, then maybe dive a little deeper. And you can also kind of see how they are responding to it. Any of are they doing any confidence to you? Are they sharing something that's vulnerable? If they are, that's a really good sign of reciprocity. And then it's a good, there's better chance that you two will be able to have a good conversation about that kind of topic.
That makes a lot of sense. If you were to actually no, let's go back here. Um, can you think back in the past since you've been going into pet play? Is there a memory that comes to you that brings you a lot of joy? Can you think back about a time where you're really enjoying being a kitty and you're like, yes, this is what I love and this is what I want to do?
I would say just whenever I'm in kitten mode with my owner, just being at his feet, I like to feel small and it's a very vulnerable space, but it invites intimacy, emotional intimacy, physical intimacy. And I really enjoy that. And that's something that in our everyday life, we're often on our phones, on our computer, everything is going so fast that whenever I'm in that space, it's much easier for me to disconnect completely. So I would say anytime that I'm in kitten zone or space uh, is a really good experience.
Okay, so this is almost the end of the question slash interview slash chat. For all our viewers out there, or listeners out there, do you have anything, any suggestions, or any tidbits, or anything you'd like to say to them to before we let you go?
Yes. Actually, if they do have any questions, to feel free to add them in the comments if this is going to go on YouTube. I'm more than happy to do a part two if you guys want and if Daddy wants to. Um, and yeah, don't be shy. Just ask.
Well, that's really sweet of you, and I'm always up for answering questions as always. And final, kind of last two questions. I think I know the answer to this one, but Um, out of all my videos on my channel, which ones do you like the best? Like, which category do you like the best?
What's your guess? Your guess.
My guess would be the pet play ones, the kitten play.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and
They're
what
so.
What about them do you like?
It's so funny. I was gonna say, it's true. Your channel is about comfort. I was just gonna say it's comforting. Um, it's really what it is for me. And if I'm alone, actually, this can help me to go into that space. Um, so yeah, all the pet play. Please do more.
Yes, I am planning to do more. I am sorry there hasn't been as many. I find those a little bit more difficult to make because of the nonverbal, and so I'm
Ah,
still getting used to getting into that space where no one's asking me questions or talking back to me like Princess usually does. So,
actually, we didn't talk about being nonverbal.
oh, well, let's talk about it now then.
Yeah, it's a big part of it, because that helps me to have really like no responsibilities at all. All I can say is yes or no, and how I do that is by meowing. So one meow is yes, two meow is no. So my owner slash daddy kind of has to guess what I want, what I need. But basically, he cares for all of my needs. And I'll give you an example of, let's say that I want a bowl of milk. What I'll do is I'll just crawl to the fridge and then I'll look at the fridge, look at him, look at the fridge, look at him, and oh, he knows that's the signal for like I want a bowl of milk. But like I think with time we kind of create that body language in speaking with our eyes and the tone of voice. Because if I'm not mistaken, language in general or communication is only 7% done with words. The rest of it is body language, tone of voice, and other stuff that I can't remember. So
Well,
it's a really good way to practice communication,
it does. It does
being
sound like
aware.
fun. It does
Yeah.
sound like fun as well, and that's what I'm saying. It makes it a bit harder for me to make those
Yeah.
audios. I find, and again, it comes with practice. Just like I guess your owner slash
Mm.
daddy. Once you guys have been doing it for a while, I guess he gets a bit better at knowing what you need or what your needs are by that body communication,
I think it's really
nonverbal.
fun. It's
Yeah,
really
I can
fun. I like to see him guess. And I know he's gonna get it, but I think
eventually.
it's a fun game to play. Like it's really fun. Yeah.
Well, it does sound like fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much for taking the time today and chatting with me. I'm sure a lot of other pets and metals out there will definitely benefit from this. You were great, and so yeah, so thank you so much.
You're more than welcome.
And as promised, if any of you would like to take part in this project, please contact me via email, link in the description. All that's needed is age verification to make sure that you're over 18, and then we can book the interview slash chat. So I'm really looking forward to hear from you, and I hope everybody's having a great week.